Hey, what's up, guys? Still City Dashcam here. So, I want to have a little dialogue, just sort of detailing my experience at the now evidently infamous 2023 Blue Ridge Rock Festival. So, sort of give some backstory here. I bought tickets a while ago, so thankfully I was not that far in financially. It only cost me, $200 for 4 days, or what was supposed to be 4 days. Hotel was $10 a night because my buddy used airline points, so that was moot. All I really paid for was gas and food, so it really wasn't that bad. So I wasn't that far in, I guess I should say. But obviously the festival didn't go as planned, so I want to sort of talk about what went wrong, what went right, and sort of the silver linings in the whole thing. So, as far as what went wrong, and this is not so much 100% what I experienced, but also what people I know experienced. One of my coworkers went. He waited like 12 hours in line to get in for camping, which is absurd, and security stopped checking vehicles, so anyone was getting in with whatever they wanted. Same goes with the festival. A lot of the security quit. A lot of the stagehands walked out. That was another huge thing. I know at least one of the stages, if not two of the stages that were used at the festival, they were all stage line stages. There were two SAM 450s and two, I want to say, 560s. Bigger than they probably are bigger than that. But either way, I know two stages had damage. I don't think they're cleaned up yet. It's taken them forever to clean up. It's taken them forever to fix their messes. It was not safe from a hygiene perspective. It was not safe from an ADA perspective. They have ADA, but it's kind of pointless if it's inaccessible or, it's flawed from the get-go. Security was useless. Didn't even have walkie-talkies to communicate with each other. It was not good. And of course, they blame the weather. It was not the weather. I can tell you that for a fact. The weather may have played a tiny role in some discussion, at least for Saturday. But the only real weather that warranted canceling anything was the bit that delayed things on Thursday. They oversold significantly and were turning people who had paid and had tickets away. Shuttles were a problem because they got the shuttles, they didn't get the people to drive them, and a lot of the shuttles, I saw two of them dumping white smoke out of the exhaust. So, they got shuttles, but two of them broke down. They blew head gaskets. And to top it all off, the person he's not quite in charge of the whole thing officially. He used to be. Faced backlash, quote-unquote, sold it, still registered to his house. I think he still owns it. But that's all speculation. Disappeared off the face of the earth. They were talking about refunds, then they backtrack on it, and now they're talking about it again. But they're being very careful with their wording, and they're blaming the weather likely to get out of having to refund. They're talking about resolutions, which means they're probably going to roll things over to the next festival that no one's going to want to go to. No headliners are going to want to play. Over half the bands got canceled for no reason. So all in all, it was a clusterfuck. Personally, the first day, this is through no fault of their own, it was, partially was. It was too damn hot. It was 95 degrees. We left because we were getting heat exhaustion. Why is this a little bit their fault? Their supposed 12 water stations, they say they're going to have 6 spigots at one place and 6 in VIP. And that one place was the far corner of the festival. So you had to basically walk the entire length of the festival just to go get water without paying $5 for it with your cashless wristband that charged a fee. And they took 35% of every sale on top of that from the vendors. And supposedly, I have no actual concrete evidence of this, but I've heard it from multiple sources, so I'm inclined to, especially given the rest of the behavior, believe it to a degree, is that a lot of places weren't receiving their tips. So that was, that's a problem, and there's no shade. And that plays into another issue, weather. So Thursday, a storm came out of nowhere. Crazy storm, hail, crazy winds. Not their fault. I can't blame them for that. What I can blame them for is having no safety precautions. Campers could go into their vehicles, but people who were off-site parking and shuttling in were told to shelter in their vehicles. In other words, wait in line for a shuttle out in these storms, or hide under tents that aren't safe. They were actively telling them not to hide under the tents, but it was basically a free-for-all from what my friends experienced. And yeah, you already oversold. Ignoring the overselling, you have no course of action for sheltering that kind of crowd. And in those kinds of storms, that's a big safety thing, especially from the company that rents out the stages, Stage Line. They have their requirements that they have to follow, and people have to vacate the area, and there has to be shelter for them. There wasn't. So that sort of touches on all that. There's plenty of videos touching on how the band, the crew, all that was treated. I'm not going to go so much into that because I don't know any of the specific crew. I just know, hearing from coworkers, because we were involved in terms of renting out some equipment and a stage. So we were involved in that kind of a sense. But I'm not going to go too deep into the crew thing because I just don't have the knowledge on that. But that was, I know for a fact a lot of them walked out, and I know that they were treated really badly. No food, or, not being fed really at all. No ability to shower, 16-hour days. They were camping like the rest of the people. Everything was unsanitary. There's diseases going around from it, like Giardia. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, but, diseases that you get from unsanitary water were going around, as well as other things. And the restrooms were unsanitary. There's trash everywhere. The water doesn't seem like it was sanitary in any capacity. I'm not going to go into how officials or politicians or police were reacting to that because I don't know. That would be all speculation on my end, so I'm not going to claim something unless I know it as fact. But obviously, a lot is wrong there. On a personal note as well, Friday, day was going good. Phone got stolen in a pit by a bunch of pickpockets because they were going around just getting everybody. Security would do nothing, which is laughable. You go up to them and they tell you, oh, go to the information desk and tell them, as if they're not the hired security for the place. But that's a whole nother thing. Didn't end up getting it back. Luckily, I had insurance on the phone. So in order to get back, we were staying in a hotel in Greensboro, North Carolina, so a little over an hour away. I had no phone. My buddy's phone got stolen, and he drove separately, so no GPS, no nothing. I asked someone for their phone, looked up the directions, took my GoPro, which I'll have some footage on eventually, once I finally get around to editing that, and used the GoPro and recorded the screen so I had the directions, and then actually didn't end up needing them, but glad I did it just in case. Drove back to the hotel, had my work phone, thankfully, so I could navigate back because I had friends that I had made through the group for this festival from Australia who needed rides from their hotel right down the street. So I was coordinating with them. Because the last 2 days got canceled, it ended up kind of working out that we weren't going to stick around anyway after the whole ordeal. But used the work phone, was able to navigate and keep in contact, all that stuff. And had my old phone, so I went over to T-Mobile the next morning, got a new SIM card, was up and running, got the insurance claim, got the new phone within a couple days. But that was sort of the nail in the coffin of we already really weren't going to go, and we already really didn't want to deal with the fact that the weather was going to probably quote-unquote cancel it. Said that wrong. The quote-unquote weather was going to cancel it. Yeah, that was the whole... That was pretty much my experience from the negative end. The positive end of things, in terms of the festival, because there were some improvements. I don't think this festival should ever happen again under the ownership it has. I think it needs a new venue entirely because there's a lot of logistical and sanitation issues with where they're holding this, and it needs to not happen this way again. And no adequate shelter. But some silver linings were the shuttles getting to the festival. If you got there at the reasonable, I don't want to say it that way, but earlier times, I was on a shuttle and right to the festival. Now knowing, because this was, security really wasn't looking, but we were into the festival quick. I liked the more compact layout if they wouldn't have oversold the festival. The stage layout was a lot nicer in that sense. They added a big delay tower for the main stages, which was a wonderful addition, even though whoever was setting that up did not do the tie downs. So when it got windy, they were blowing all over the damn place. Is this a wreck, like, right up here? I don't know. We're going to find out. Sorry about that. So, yeah, that was kind of one of the major upsides was that they did get one small thing right as well, and they moved some of the water spigots over to the other side of the festival so that you didn't have to cross the whole festival to get there. But it should be a no-brainer. You can set up water stations. You're making so much money off of this festival. You can set up water stations near every stage, near restrooms, near tents, near whatever. It was just it. I don't want to say that it was laundering, although it does run in his family that money gets laundered. I think it's just someone with an inability to plan, trying to plan something. I don't know how much of it is malice. Maybe a little bit, not quite malice, but deception. More than anything, it's not like they're out to get people. I feel like he just wanted to make his money and wanted to cut corners wherever possible, and it fucked a lot of things up. Ooh. God, that is beautiful. Who wrecked, though? That's a whole line of cars pulled over. They're all from Quebec, too. Alright, I don't know what that was. There's some kick-ass cars there, though. But yeah, I lost my train of thought on that. But, I guess, oh, okay, I know where I was. But anyway, to sort of leave that tangent where it was, they did do, a couple of those little things in terms of fixing stuff. The sound was run better. But I was more focused on that because, it's what I do for a living. Aside from that, the only other positives were I made some really cool friends from Australia, from Pittsburgh area, from local, running into some great people. Had some fun in some mosh pits. The other little thing was the pit crew that they always had. It's not an official thing, but it's semi-official. They basically were in the pits beating the shit out of the crowd killers, making sure that sort of hardcore dancing type moshing wasn't happening and people weren't just getting punched in the face in the pit the whole day. They were security this year, so there was no one doing that. So a lot of the pits were a lot of just dumbasses. There were some great ones. There were some not so great ones. Got to see some great bands. None of the bands I saw I was disappointed. So that was good. And, got a little vacation out of it. The couple days after I went home early, I got to relax at home and game and just have some fun. Got to do some whiskey hunting like usual. So, silver linings and everything. But ultimately, I wouldn't call my time off a failure. The festival was absolutely a failure in every way, really. Aside from, they got some good bands, but what's the point in having the best lineup if most of them don't even get to play because you can't run a festival? Now, I'm not going in the future. I'm going to start looking at festivals like Louder Than Life just happened. There's a lot of bands I would see. I would consider it. So, we'll see. Something like that for next year, or even like a 2 or 3 day festival just to give me a break from work. All that kind of stuff. Or even just buy some tickets to some smaller local shows that I get to see headliner sets from bands I like. I don't know, because I'm not usually after the headliners as much. I'm after at the festivals. I'm after the smaller middle range bands. But it just sucks because it has so much potential. And after last year had its issues, but I enjoyed the hell out of the festival. And I had such high hopes for this year, and it fell flat. Last year was, I hate to say the peak because it still has some major issues, but last year was the peak. And I'll be frank, I don't know if this is going to happen again. So, I'll keep my eyes out for other festivals. I suggest if that's the kind of thing you like, you do too. But, yeah, I mean, you know, I'm always open to discussion on this kind of thing. Leave a comment, you know, all that kind of stuff. If there's something I said that you agree with, if you don't agree with, if you have your own experience that either lines up or doesn't with mine, because again, my experience is my experience. Some people had a great time. Others had a way worse time than me. Some people didn't even end up getting into the festival or had all their gear destroyed in that storm with camping. You know, like, everyone had a different experience, and I'm just giving my 2 cents along with the facts that I'm basing it off of. Facts and I'm not saying everything I said was a fact, but a lot of those things I said did just straight up happen. All the sanitation issues, all the way things ran, objectively happened. If it didn't happen to you, I'm telling you it happened to me, or it happened to people I directly know. So it happened. It might not have happened to you, but you can't say it didn't. And there was a lot of major things that happened that really should not have, and it's unacceptable that something of this magnitude could have such things happen. Especially when safety is concerned, when health is concerned. It was a problem. When accessibility is concerned, when you advertise accessibility and then it sucks, that's not good. That's a really bad look. And that's a great way to sort of keep some people away that would normally be more than willing to spend good money. So ultimately, it was a festival. It was not good. Had its moments, but was not good. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on it. What I dealt with. Again, I'm lucky. People had it worse. I mean, I wouldn't say having my phone stolen is lucky, but it's luckier than a lot of people's scenarios and situations were. A lot of people lost way more money worth of stuff, or in the case of my Australian friends, spent thousands of dollars per person to come here just to not even get to go to most of the festival. So, like, it is what it is, but it's not something that you can just ignore and be like, oh, it'll get better next year. You got to start looking at trends. You got to look at these major issues are happening by somebody who's been doing this for a long time. That's red flags. And that's just something to keep in mind. You could be willing to risk it, but I personally am not. If it even happens again. I don't know if it will. But that being said, thanks for sticking around and listening. Like I said, if you have feedback, your own stories that either line up with mine or tell a different story, I want to hear them, because I want to hear what people's experiences were. So I've heard a lot that had similar to me, but I do like hearing that people did enjoy themselves. And I do like hearing, you know, things that can help me inform my decision more, like hearing how something improved or something else I didn't mention did not improve. So yeah, like I said, thanks for listening. I will catch you guys in the next video.